Attention Taraba! Here is a public service announcement to all youth groups and organizations in Taraba State. The Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Taraba State on Youth Affairs, in collaboration with the Special Advisor, Youth Empowerment and the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Taraba State Chapter, invites all youth groups in the state to register for Taraba State Youth Transformation Initiative. Registration is free. The Taraba Youth Transformation Initiative is strategically designed to identify and equip youth groups with skills to enhance youth development. Registration will take place in all the 168 political wards in Taraba State. Registration starts 31st of March 2025. Venue: all local government secretariats across the state. Don't miss out. Register your youth groups today and take a step towards unlocking your full potentials. Join us and let's build a brighter future for Taraba youths. Ambassador Emmanuel George, JP, SSA, Youth Affairs, Announcer.
No matter how long you live, you cannot learn it all. You can only do your best because you know go feed you all. So if you want to criticize me,
RU Executive Transport, a transportation company ready to change the transportation narrative in Taraba State and Nigeria at large, bringing comfort, safety and reliability. Witness their impact on the people, the economy and Nigeria's transportation future.
RU Executive Transport Company was actually incorporated sometime in 2024, and the decision to establish the company was actually born out of a burden for travelers to Jalingo, especially from Abuja. And I saw that need and tried to reach out to existing transport companies to fill the gap, but they were not forthcoming. And so I decided to go into it myself. That is the main essence of this company, to connect Taraba State to other parts of the country, especially Abuja and Yola, comfortably for executive travelers.
We offer executive services to both individuals and group of people. The kind of services we render depends on the needs in which our customers wishes for us to offer. Either wedding, conferences, ambulance services or car hire services, we ensure that we give you the very best of service.
We offer shuttle services. We started with Jalingo Yola, and right now as I'm talking to you, we are already looking out for a terminal in Abuja, because Abuja route is actually the ultimate. That was the motivation behind the establishment of the company, so that travels between Abuja and Jalingo can be done comfortably. So we are trusting God that by April, before the end of April, we will start the Abuja route. We are already looking out for a terminal. And so that is the basic thing. And we go into car hire services too. You can hire our Sienna buses, you can hire our Hummer buses, you can also hire our ambulances. So we have all these types of vehicles in place. And I want to say here, what I mean by travel in comfort is that if you are traveling with our Sienna bus, for example, we don't take more than 5 passengers on our shuttle trips. But if you hire it, we allow you to take up to 6 passengers. In other words, 3 people can sit at the back, 2 at the center and 1 in front. But if it is through our shuttle services, it's only 5.
We ensure we take off on time and also arrive on time, most especially for our airport passengers that would love to catch up with a flight to their various destinations. And also we provide comfort and relaxation. All our vehicles are fully air-conditioned vehicles.
RU Executive Transport, a transportation company ready to change the transportation narrative in Taraba State and Nigeria at large, bringing comfort, safety and reliability. witness their impact on the people, the economy, and Nigeria's transportation future.
Ari Executive Transport Company was actually incorporated sometime in 2024, and the decision to establish the company was actually born out of a burden for travelers to Jalingo, especially.
Welcome to the World News on Psalm TV. The World News on Psalm TV is a daily news program that brings you news from around. I am Abraham Jordan. You can watch the World News on Psalm TV on Facebook at Psalm TV, and on YouTube at Psalm TV Live. Welcome to the news. Live. Shock after resigning from African AIDS charity. Britain's prince, after stepping down as a patron of Sentebale. Sorry, I take that again. Prince Harry is shocked after stepping down as Sentebale. Okay, sorry for the technical glitch there. Now to the world news. Prince Harry is shocked after stepping down as patron of the Sentebale, the HIV and AIDS charity co-founded in 2006 to support vulnerable youth in Lesotho and Botswana. His resignation follows as internal dispute between the charity's trustees and board chair Sophie Chandauka, who has taken legal action to retain her position. In a joint statement with co-founder Prince Seeiso of Lesotho, Harry described the situation as devastating, emphasizing that the breakdown of relations between the board and chairman has become untenable. Sentebale, which means forget-me-not in the local Sesotho language, was founded in honor of Harry's late mother, Princess Diana, who was known for her advocacy for HIV/AIDS awareness. The Duke of Sussex, who now resides in California with his wife Meghan and their two children, has been deeply involved in African philanthropy for years and visited Nigeria last year. Despite their departure, Harry and Seeiso affirmed their commitment to Sentebale's mission. Although we may no longer be patrons, we will always be founders, and we will never forget what this charity is capable of achieving when it is in the right care, the statement read. The trustees justified their call for Chandauka to step down, insisting it was in the best interest of the organization. The Sudanese army has surrounded Khartoum airport and nearby areas, marking a significant development in its ongoing conflict with the Rapid Support Forces, two military sources told Reuters on Wednesday. This escalation follows the army's capture of the presidential palace in downtown Khartoum last Friday, a strategic victory in a war that has threatened to divide Sudan. The army, which has been losing ground, has recently regained momentum, reclaiming key territories from the RSF in central Sudan. Eyewitnesses have reported the RSF forces have primarily positioned themselves in southern Khartoum, seeking to secure exit routes across bridges to Omdurman. The United Nations has labeled Sudan's conflicts as the world's most severe humanitarian crisis, with widespread famine entities affecting the nation's estimated 50 million people. The war, which erupted 2 years ago, disrupted Sudan's transmission to democratic governance. The army and RSF initially cooperated to overthrow long-term leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019 and later played a role in toppling the civilian-led governments. However, tensions between the two factions persisted as Bashir has cultivated RSF leader Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Ahmedti, as a counterweight to the regular military under General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reiterated threats to seize territory in Gaza Strip if Hamas does not release the remaining hostages it holds. Speaking during a parliamentary hearing on Wednesday, Netanyahu warned that Israel will intensify its military actions against Hamas if the group continues to refuse hostage releases. The more Hamas continues in its refusal to release their hostages, the more powerful the repression that will be, Netanyahu stated, as opposition lawmakers occasionally interrupted in speech. This includes seizing territory and it includes other things, he added, without specifying further details. Netanyahu's remarks come amid ongoing tensions in the region, with international calls for a ceasefire and negotiations to secure the release of hostages. Now to the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia has launched attacks on at least 8 Ukrainian energy facilities since March 18, despite previously declaring a halt to short strikes. A senior Ukrainian official claimed on Wednesday. Ihor Dukva, deputy head of Ukraine's presidential office, made the statement on national television, contradicting Moscow's announcement that it has stopped targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Additionally, Zovkov dismissed Russia's claims that preconditions were discussed with U.S. officials in Saudi Arabia before reaching an agreement on a Black Sea truce. The Kremlin, however, insists that certain conditions must be met before the maritime security deal negotiated with Washington can take effect. Meanwhile, emergency response teams continue to battle the aftermath of Russia's airstrikes. A recent attack in Kiev saw firefighters working to extinguish flames at an energy facility hit by missiles. South Korean prosecutors announced on Wednesday their intention to appeal to the Supreme Court after a lower court declared Lee Jae-myung, the leader of the main opposition Democratic Party, of election law violations. The ruling, which was delivered earlier in the day, has acquitted Lee of charges related to alleged false statements during his presidential campaign. However, prosecutors are challenging the decision, seeking a review by the country's highest courts, according to Yonhap News Agency. The Supreme Prosecutor's Office has not yet responded to requests for comment on the matter. Lee Jae-myung, a prominent opposition figure, has faced multiple legal challenges in recent years. His acquittal marks a significant legal victory, but the prosecution appeal signals a continued battle over the case. The U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have strongly criticized a federal judge who blocked the Trump administration's ban on transgender troops in the military, mocking her ruling and suggesting she has overstepped her authority. The judge, U.S. District Judge Anna Reyes, ruled that President Donald Trump's executive order banning transgender individuals from serving likely violates the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution. In response, X took to social media platform X sarcastically referring to Reyes as Commander Reyes and implying she was acting as a military strategist. Since Judge Reyes is now a top military planner, they can report to Fort Benning at 600 hours to instruct our military rangers on how to execute high-value target raids, Hegseth wrote. After that, Commander Reyes can dispatch to Fort Bragg to train our Green Berets on counterinsurgency warfare. Reyes, appointed by former President Joe Biden, issued a nationwide injunction halting areas spread. The ruling is one of the many judicial challenges since his return to office in January, with over 100 lawsuits currently targeting various executive orders. Trump and his officials have escalated their attacks on the judiciary, with the president recently calling for the impeachment of another judge who ruled against his deportation policies. This criticism has prompted concerns about the independence and security of federal judges. The administration argues that the military has the right to set enlistment criteria, comparing the transgender ban to restriction on recruits with bipolar disorder or eating disorders. However, opponents cite the 2020 Supreme Court ruling that classifies employment discrimination against transgender human individuals as illegal sex discrimination. Except a former Fox News host and military veteran has prioritized culture war issues, including banning transgender tropes and eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the military. Under his leadership, the Pentagon has also removed General C.Q. Brown, the first black chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, and Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to lead the Navy. The U.S. military confirmed on February 11 that it will no longer accept transgender recruits and will halt all gender-affirming medical procedures for active service members. By the end of the month, it has all begun the process of discharging transgender personnel. As the legal battle continues, federal courts will determine whether Trump's policy will stand or if the administration has overstepped its authority in restricting transgender service members. Furthermore, the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has squarely placed the blame on Hamas for the recent escalation of violence in Gaza. In an interview with Fox News, Witkoff stated that Hamas has rejected an acceptable deal to demilitarize and extend the ceasefire into April, beyond the holidays of Ramadan and Passover. So this is on Hamas. The United States stands with the state of Israel, Witkoff emphasized, adding that Hamas has had every opportunity to accept the bridging proposal but chose not to do so. The renewed fighting in Gaza has resulted in hundreds of casualties, according to Palestine Health authorities. Witkoff's bridge plan aimed to extend the ceasefire and allow time for negotiation on a permanent cessation of hostilities. Witkoff also reiterated that the U.S. is open to diplomatic discussion with Iran to avoid military action, but warned that military options remains on the table if necessary. He emphasized that Iran must not possess a nuclear bomb, stating this cannot and will not happen. The conflict in Gaza has been ongoing since October 2023, when Hamas attacked Israeli communities, killing over 1,200 people and abducting 251 others as hostages. The Palestine Health Ministry reports that at least 50,021 Palestinians have been killed and 274 wounded since the start of the war. In a surprising revelation, the Kremlin has hinted that Russian President Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump then to publicly announce phone calls in recent months. This disclosure has sparked speculations about the frequency and nature of their conversation. According to Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, while the information has been released about the two known calls, we can rule out everything else. When asked about possible additional calls, Peskov replied, "Well, that is how I will answer your questions. The two leaders have been in contact to discuss the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, with Trump expressing his desire to end the three-year conflict and prevent it from escalating into a global war. Their conversation have, however, raised concerns among European leaders who fear the U.S. may be abandoning its European allies in pursuit of a peace deal with Russia. The Kremlin also warned that if Ukraine continues to attack Russian energy infrastructure, Putin and Trump may have another phone call to discuss the situation. Putin has previously agreed to suspend such attacks in a phone call with Trump. But Ukraine has accused Russia of not honoring the agreement. Continue to rise. The international community remain vigilant, awaiting further development in the crisis. In a diplomatic move, U.S. Republican Senator Steve Daines met with Chinese Prime Premier League in Beijing on Sunday, accompanied by a delegation of 7 American executives. This is the first time a U.S. politician has visited China since President Donald Trump took office in January. The U.S. executives, including CEOs from Qualcomm, Visa, and Boeing, were granted an dialogue over confrontation in U.S.-China relations. Lee stressed that both sides must choose win-win cooperation over zero-sum competition. Deng, a staunch supporter of Trump, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, has been involved in U.S.-China trade negotiations and has made multiple trips to China as a senator. He introduced the American CEOs, highlighting their collective 2 to 5 years of experience doing business in China. The meeting comes amid strained U.S.-China relationships, with Trump slapping additional tariff on China goods and accusing Beijing of not doing enough to stem the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. A U.S. review of China's fulfillment of promises made during the Phase 1 trade deal is set to conclude on April 1. Other notable attendees at the meeting include Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao, Executive Vice Foreign Minister Mike Zhao, and U.S. Embassy Chad Dufer and Vo. Deng also met with Chinese Vice Premier Li Feng on Saturday, discussing the need for China to stop the flow of fentanyl precursors. In Pakistan, the army has successfully thwarted an infiltration attempt by Islamist militants along the country's western border with Afghanistan, killing 60 militants in an exchange of fire during the night between March 22 and 23 in North Waziristan district. According to the army statement, the border troop effectively engaged the militants, preventing them from infiltrating the area. Islamabad has long claimed that Islamist militants who attack inside Pakistan and against the army have safe havens in Afghanistan. Kabul denies. The incident occurred while Pakistan's special representative for Afghanistan, Sadiq Khan, was on a 2-day official visit to Kabul to discuss bilateral and economic issues. The visit highlights Pakistan's efforts to strengthen diplomatic ties with its neighbors amidst ongoing security. A Russian drone attack on Kiev has killed at least 3 people, including the first fires and destruction in the Ukraine capital, officials reported on Sunday. Kiev Mayor Vital described the assault as a massive enemy drone attack. In a Telegram post stating that emergency services have been deployed across multiple districts to respond to fires and structural damage. According to Ukraine Air Force, Russia launched 147 drones overnight, targeting various parts of the country. Ukrainian air defense reportedly destroyed 97 of them, while 25 failed to reach their targets. This trial occurred just hours before planned diplomatic talks in Saudi Arabia, where the officials from Ukraine, the US, and Russia were set to discuss security in the Black Sea and possible steps towards a ceasefire. The U.S. is pushing for a peace deal and aims to broker a broad ceasefire by April 20, according to Bloomberg News. However, hostilities continues. Russian Air Defense Unit destroy 59 Ukrainian drones targeting southwestern Russia, killing 1 person in Rostov, authorities said on Sunday. According to Russia's defense ministry, 29 drones were intercepted overnight over the Rostov region, while 20 were down over the Astrakhan region near the Caspian Sea. Additional drones were shot down over the Voronezh, Volgograd, Kursk, and Saratov region, as well as Crimea. Yuri Syusa, acting governor of Rostov, confirmed the fatality, stating a car caught fire due to a drone attack. A person in the car was killed. Now to North America, Prime Minister Mark Carney has called a snap election for April 28, saying he needs a strong mandate to respond to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff policies, which he described as a major threat to Canada's economy and sovereignty. The election, originally scheduled for October 20, was moved up as Canada's Liberal Party sees a resurgence in public support following a tough start to the year. The Liberals have gained momentum since January when Trump escalated trade threats against Canada and former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation. An Israeli airstrike in southern Gaza on Sunday killed Salah al-Badawi, a senior Hamas political leader, along with his wife, according to officials from the militant group. The airstrike hit Khan Yunis, a city in southern Gaza, amid an escalation in Israel's military offensive, now in its sixth day. Pro-Hamas media outlets reported Badawi's death, while Israel officials have not yet commented on the attack. Tahir al-Nono, media advisor to the Hamas leadership, confirmed Badawi's death in a Facebook post. The attack comes after a period of relative calm as Israel resumed large-scale air and ground operations against Hamas last Tuesday. Israeli airstrike also targeted multiple locations across northern, central, and southern Gaza, and on Sunday, according to Gaza authorities, at least 18 Palestinians were killed in separate attacks on Rafah and Khan Yunis. Pope Francis has returned to the Vatican after spending 5 weeks at Rome's Gemelli Hospital battling double pneumonia, one of the most severe health crises of his 12 years papacy. The 88-year-old pontiff made his first public appearance since February 14 before being discharged on Sunday. A car carried him along the hospital shortly after noon, escorted by police vehicles. Before heading to the Vatican, Francis made a brief stop at the Basilica of St. Mary's Major to offer prayers, a site he frequently visits. Although doctors have declared him stable, they warn that full recovery will take time. He has been advised to rest for at least 2 more months and avoid large gatherings or stressful meetings, raising concern about his ability to fulfill upcoming engagements, including an Easter celebration and a scheduled meeting with Britain's King Charles on April 8. Upon leaving the hospital, Francis smiled and waved at a crowd of well-wishers using a wheelchair as he had for several years. His face appeared swollen and bandages were visible on both hands under his white cassock. Despite his frail voice, he thanked everyone. Trump offer of talk with Iran aims to avoid military action, says U.S. envoy. The envoy's proposal for negotiation with Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is an effort to prevent military conflict, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said on Sunday. We don't need to solve everything militarily, Witkoff told Fox News. Our signal to Iran is to let it sit down and see if we can, through dialogue and diplomacy, reach the right place. If we can, we're prepared to do that, and if we can, the alternative is not a great alternative. Earlier this month, Trump confirmed he had sent a letter to Khamenei warning that Iran faced 2 options: negotiate or risk military action. However, Khamenei dismissed the offer as a deception, arguing that talk with Trump's administration will only tighten U.S. sanctions and increase pressure on Iran. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated on Thursday that Iran will soon issue a response to what is described as both threat and opportunity in Trump's letter. However, he reiterated that negotiation with the U.S. will be impossible unless Washington changes current pressure strategy. Meanwhile, White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, speaking on CBS News, emphasized that the U.S. demands for full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program. Iran has to give up its entire program in a way that the entire world can see, Waltz says. As President Trump has said, this is coming to a head. All options are on the table, and it's time for Iran to walk away completely from its desire to have a nuclear weapon. And now to Africa, we have the Congo. Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in eastern Congo has announced their decision to withdraw from the recently seized town of Walikale, citing support for ongoing peace initiatives. This one follows the group's earlier stance of maintaining troops in the town as they advance towards the capital. The Congolese government welcomed the announcement but urged the rebels to translate their words into concrete action. The withdrawal comes after M23 pulled out of planned negotiations with Congolese authorities due to European Union sanctions imposed on some of its leaders and Rwandan officials. The Congo River Alliance, which includes M23, stated that it has decided to reposition its forces from Walikale and surrounding areas in line with the ceasefire declared on February. However, skepticism remains among military officials who suspect the rebels may be repositioning rather than fully retreating. A senior alliance member speaking anonymously said the decision was made to give peace a chance, though no details were provided about the rebels' next step. The alliance has also demanded that Walikale and its surroundings remain demilitarized, warning that a return of the Congolese army and its allies could reignite hostilities. Now, Germany has temporarily shut its embassy in South Sudan's capital Juba as tensions rise, pushing the East African nations towards the brink of civil war. The German Foreign Ministry announced on Saturday the crisis escalated after South Sudanese President Salva Kiir dismissed the governor of Upper Nile State earlier this week. The move has intensified clashes between government forces and an ethnic militia allegedly aligned with First Vice President Riek Machar. Kiir's political rival. The growing unrest has raised fears that South Sudan could plunge into a conflict just 7 years after emerging from a brutal civil war that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. After years of fragile appeals, South Sudan is once again on the brink of civil war, the German Foreign Ministry stated on X. President Kiir and Vice President Machar are plunging the country into a spiral of war. At least 6 police officers were killed and 4 others injured in an attack on a police camp in eastern Kenya near the Somali border. The assault, which took place on early Sunday, was carried out by suspected militants from Somalia's Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab group, according to a police report. The attackers stormed a camp housing police reservists at dawn, using assaulted weapons to overrun the facility. 6 fatalities have been confirmed, with 4 injured and in hospital. The report stated Al-Shabaab frequently launched cross-border attacks in the region, targeting both security forces and civilians. The group has been waging an insurgency to overthrow Somalia's government and impose some strict interpretation of Islamic law. In response to the growing threat, the U.S. Embassy in Kenya issued a travel advisory on Tuesday, warning American citizens against visiting Garissa and other counties bordering Somalia. Now let's look at the Global South weekly roundup. The past week has been eventful across Global South, with major development in Latin America, Asia, and Africa making headlines. In the Latin America, Peru declared state of emergency amid rising crime. Peru government declared state of emergency in the capital Lima on Monday, March 17, deploying soldiers to the street to combat rising violence. The decision follows the fatal shooting of popular cumbia singer Paul Flores, whose boss was attacked by armed assailants. Now, Venezuela and U.S. agreed to resume migrant repatriation flights. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced on March 22 that his government has reached an agreement with the U.S. to resume repatriation flights for Venezuelan migrants held in U.S. detention centers. This flight began on March 23. Now, Mexico City banned bloody bullfighting in landmark decision. Lawmakers in Mexico City voted overwhelmingly 61-1 to ban the killing of bulls and the use of sharp weapons in bullfights, making the sport less violent in an historic move. Now to the Asian 25 India sentenced to death in UAE. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Varham Singh, informed Parliament on March 20 that 25 Indian nationals in the UAE have been sentenced to death. However, the executions have not been carried out. Now to Indonesia. The Indonesian Parliament passed amendment to his military law on March 20 expanded the civilian roles for military officers. The most sparked protests in Jakarta, with critics warning that it could restore military dominance remnants of the Suharto era. 3 years